Welcome to Session 3, Learning as Cultural Activity. Now we've got a sense of what culture is and how it affects education, let's delve deeper into how culture influences the way we teach. Back in 1993, critical education theorist Michael Apple wrote, "Education is deeply implicated in the politics of culture." Around the same time, also in America, Jerome Bruner wrote an essay where he developed his thoughts on how culture affected our minds and how we learn. He described the two very different ways in which the mind had come to be conceptualized. Firstly, as a computational device, as the cognitive theorist had argued, and secondly, the cultural way that the mind is both constituted by and realized in the use of human culture. In this idea, Bruner argued that the mind simply does not exist in its own isolated bubble, devoid of interpretation through culture. Language is cultural. The way we live and work is directly mediated through the culture in which we grow up, and most certainly learning and thinking, as he said, are always situated in the cultural setting and always dependent upon the utilization of cultural resources. Cultural trends and their impact on education. Curtis and Pettigrew identified 10 cultural trends in Western societies and increasingly around the world. As I go through 4 of the most influential, I want you to think about how far these trends are present in your country and culture and what impact they are having on education. So, individualism. One of the most visible trends since the 1980s has been the neoliberal rise of the individual. Our communities are no longer as strong as they once were. Many actions, including our voting patterns, have put our own individual and our family's concerns first. This privileging of the individual has worked its way into education too. Over the past few decades, we've witnessed the introduction of individual learning plans, differentiation of lessons and accommodation of the individual learning needs, and a competitive assessment culture that ranks individuals according to their ability. Consumerism and marketization. Shopping is now a pastime of choice, and the market has gained incredible power to decide the success or failure of every product, from shoes to holidays to educational providers. Online retail giants like Amazon and eBay have made shopping, even from home, easy and affordable. The rise of consumer reviews has given the consumer power and choice. The cultural trend of shopping around has found its way into the education system. In the UK, schools, colleges and universities have been ranked in league tables based on consumer reviews, like the National Student Satisfaction Survey for higher education. And institutions must market themselves to potential consumers and provide a positive experience for fear of poor satisfaction reviews. With the introduction of high student fees in higher education, students have been framed as consumers of education. Right, globalization. So Rob, this is a key trend that has been made visible around the entire globe. Marxist geographer David Harvey claims that time and space have been compressed. Let me explain a little bit further. Air travel has drastically reduced travelling times around the world, opening up possibilities for leisure and business and education that were impossible before the 1980s.
Just let me explain something as well, Ajit. Large international companies and governing and political bodies such as the UN, UNESCO, NATO, and even the EU have often superseded the sovereignty of individual nations. Cultural spheres such as music, fashion, food, entertainment have all been influenced by globalization. Economic inequalities between parts of the world have fueled migration as people seek work and opportunities.
Oh.
War and extreme political situations have forced many others to seek refuge or asylum in other countries. Globalization is such a powerful trend in culture today that we've devoted the following session entirely to it to explore the impact it has had on our education.
It's hard to believe that the internet was established less than 30 years ago, with Google arriving in 1996 and a host of other providers such as YouTube, Facebook and Wikipedia not until the early 21st century. Since the first personal Microsoft computers back in the 1980s, technology has advanced enormously and exponentially. The mobile phone is now central to almost every aspect of modern life, from shopping to banking, leisure to education, and professional work. Just 5 years ago, students began to access more of their learning materials on their smartphones than on a static desktop. Mobile learning has now become central to many aspects of education. Modern classrooms in the global north now feature educational technology, such as interactive whiteboards, collaborative computer networks, and screens, and educational software such as Blackboard, Moodle, and Panopto.